You're listening to the Leading Healthy Creative Teams podcast with Matt Curtis. This is the podcast that helps you take your creative team from wherever you are today to healthy and effective.
Hey friends, thank you so much for joining me this week on the Leading Healthy Creative Teams podcast. This is episode 50, and it feels like a milestone, at least for me. I look back over the 50 episodes that have been put out, and I think to myself, there's a lot of really interesting content that we have talked through. But I'm also really excited to change things up a little bit. And that's what I want to talk about in this episode. Episode 50 is going to mark the end of season 1. And I want to unpack for you a little bit of the model that I'm moving toward so that you can understand what I'm doing in case that's interesting. Ultimately, I want to show you behind the curtain because you face these types of decisions all the time in your day job. You have something that's been running for a while and maybe it's been successful, but it's still time to change it. Or you've been running something for a while and it's not at the level that you think that it should be to justify this investment of resources. So then it's time to change it. But either way, you want to make a change that is investing all of your energy toward the mission of the church and moving in that direction. And so that's what I'm doing. I want to remind you real quick of the values of my organization of Lunchtime Heroes, because this decision is built on those values. And I want to kind of connect those dots for you so that as you're facing whatever change you're facing in your organization, you'll see what it looks like for this to play out. Now, I don't know how this is going to go over the long haul. This feels like a bit of a risk for me, to be honest. The new initiative is going to take more time. It's a little bit scary creatively, but I think it's going to help accomplish the mission. And so I'm willing to roll the dice and see what happens. So these are the things that are moving every decision that I make with Lunchtime Heroes. The first here, leave a wake of restoration. I want my investment in people's lives to leave them better, not worse. That means that I avoid arguments. That means that if there are toxic comments or if there are trolls on YouTube, I don't engage unless I think that there is a chance that they're asking a serious question. If I don't think that people are really interested in finding the truth or really interested in coming to a conclusion, having a civil dialogue about an idea, then I'm not going to engage. I want to leave our relationship better than when I found it. And that's true of every person that I interact with. My goal is to leave a wake of restoration. The next one is to help generously. There are times where I'll reach out to people on Facebook who are going through a hard time or running into a really complex problem, and I'll say, hey, I got some time. I actually had a conversation with somebody who's a subscriber to the Creative Bites newsletter. He wrote me back and he said, hey, I'm doing some of these things that you're talking about with a promotional plan. I'm just kind of stuck on some stuff. Can we have a conversation? Absolutely. Help generously. It's one of my values. The next one here, navigate complexity lightheartedly. That's really what I'm leaning into with this new model. Hopefully you'll see that. You'll say, yes, I see that he's trying to accomplish that. Whether he is or not, the jury's out, but that's what I'm trying. The next one here, manage reality. That's a lot of what I've invested in this first season. How do I help you see the reality of the situation that you're in, the reality of the things that are going on around you? And then the last one, make the unknown known. I'm trying to bring visibility to some of these things that maybe we don't recognize, maybe we don't see them, maybe we're not trained in these areas, and so we miss some of these challenges that come up. So if I can do that for you, if I can help you see things that you didn't see before, then I'm doing what my values are saying that I should be doing. So that's my goal. Let me lean in a little bit on navigating complexity lightheartedly. Really what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to navigate some of the challenging conversations that happen as communicators and as managers of communicators. As creatives, we have a lot of passion and a lot of drive towards the things that we're investing in. And as leaders of creatives, sometimes we get a pretty zealous conversation coming at us because of a passionate desire that the creative has. The time that I spent in the church, I was very fortunate to have gracious leaders. I would come at them with zeal. I would be so frustrated. And they were gracious and they were kind to help me see that maybe I didn't see everything. And that became a really important part of my growth as a leader. So this new model is going to feature those conversations. It's a little bit more of a narrative style. I actually call them parables. That's really what I'm trying to emulate here. I want to give you a window into the conversation between the creative and the other people on the team. Most of the conversations in these little narratives are going to be the creative director and his boss. And so I'm playing all of the characters. So it'll be one of those. I think it'll be pretty fun. I'm having a good time as I'm exploring what these look like. I want to bring you into those conversations because I learned a lot as we focused on a singular issue. The podcast currently tends to cover a pretty wide spectrum, and I want to hone it in so that I can give you more practically applicable content. The posting schedule will look very similar in the sense that every week a new piece of content is coming out, but it's going to alternate between the parable and the podcast. So one week you'll have the parable, and then the next week you'll have a podcast, which will be shorter in duration, that's focusing on the same concept. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to present to you through a narrative form something that you can relate to in a deeper way than just, here are some thoughts, here are some ideas. And then the next week, we're going to unpack that a little bit more in depth to understand some of the nuances of the things that are going on, maybe some recommendations in terms of best practices, or even alternate ways to handle that conversation. I'm trying to really help bring you in through a narrative format so that you can experience the content in a richer way. So what that means, in case you didn't pick it up, podcasts are going to be moving to every other week. Video content will be moving to every other week. If you're on YouTube, you're getting everything, and you're getting it once a week. You're going to get the video, the narrative, parable, that's going to be on YouTube, and then the recording of the podcast will also be on YouTube. So if there is a place to follow along, it's YouTube. I still will be releasing podcast content. So if you are an audio-driven person and you love it and you don't want to go to YouTube, that's totally fine. You're going to be getting content that will feel similar, although a bit shorter, but it'll feel similar than what you're currently getting. I am really excited about season 2 for a lot of reasons. I'm a little nervous about it, if I'm honest with you, because I am stretching myself creatively. My goal for this content is the same as when season 1 launched with its first episode, and that's to help you build a healthy creative team in your church. So that's what all these moves are moving toward. I will see you again on August 7th with the release of the first video. Until then, dip back into the old archives and watch some older content, sign up for the Creative Bites newsletter so that you can get some information there. But I'm really looking forward to what this new season has for us. And with that, we wrap season 1 of the Leading Healthy Creative Teams podcast. I can't wait for you to join me for season 2.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Leading Healthy Creative Teams. This podcast is just one of the ways Lunchtime Heroes helps build healthy creative teams in the church. Stay up to date on the latest by signing up for the Creative Bites email at lunchtimeheroes.co.